Hello and welcome to my online section of Social Work 793. My name is Michael Quant and I'm going to be your instructor for this online section. I have been teaching this class for a number of years, both online and in person, and I'm excited that you've signed up for the course. So here we go. Below is my email address. That's the best way to reach me. I respond typically within a few hours, at most one business day. I don't have any office hours, but if you want to set up a Skype meeting with me or any kind of like FaceTime thing, I'd be fine with that as well. This is a 2-credit course and the workload expectations will be uploaded to the syllabus, but I just want to present this video as like a broad overview of what to expect for this section. Before we get going, just a little bit about myself. I should mention that I'm not a PhD in social work, but rather a psychologist, so I'm a licensed clinical psychologist. This is a picture of my family. I'm from Wisconsin originally. Right now I work both in Milwaukee and in Chicago. Background about myself is I worked with the UWM social work department on some research projects, and I've also taught classes for the social work department for a number of years. Right now I'm working as a clinical psychologist mostly with veterans within the Chicago area, and also still active with the APA and a few other research endeavors. About the course, obviously it's a 700 level course, advanced graduate social work course. That's part of the requirements for the MSW program. The course is intended to enable students to develop more of a scientific approach to their practice. Oftentimes we wonder if what we're doing is really helping the people that we're seeing, families or programs that we're working with. This course is intended to help you to look at your practice from a more quantitative standpoint and really try to measure whether or not we're attaining the goals that we're setting out to. Oftentimes we get feedback and we're kind of wondering whether or not we've done is helpful. Single system design really helps us to look at exactly what we're trying to change, what goals we've set, and whether or not we've attained those goals. This course is also really helpful because there's a focus on learning by doing. So the project with this course is going to be implementing a single system design, and picking out your measures, picking out the goals that you'd like, and monitoring your progress along the way. This project is going to be good for you as a learning experience because I'll give you some feedback along the way, and hopefully it's minimal stress, and I'll explain why. So obviously this is an online course. You should be pretty comfortable with D2L. Everything that you'll need for the course is on D2L. I would just mention that Singwin is available on campus. If you buy the book new, it'll come with Singwin, but it's only compatible with PC. So if you're a Mac user, you can access Singwin on most campus computers. I know Singwin is available on the 10th floor of Vendorous. That's probably the easiest. If you don't have access to campus computers and you have a Mac and you live far away from campus, please email me and we'll come up with a workaround. It's not as big of a deal as a lot of students make it out to be. There's other ways that we can go about doing this, so try not to stress about that just yet. Also, the last point here is just a link that you'll find in your syllabus as far as religious observations, military duty, incompletes, a more campus policy. I would just say that if you do have a student visa or if you have special accommodations, please just send me a message and I will make sure to work with you on that. So in general, the course goals and objectives, I really want you to be able to implement single system design with a real client. More specifically within UWM, we work within an urban environment. The social work department is focused on social justice and being able to serve a diverse population such as Milwaukee. And the course focuses on cultural and ethical implications for working in such an environment and also upholding the highest professional standards. Likewise, I'd like for you to be able to be educated consumers of practice research. And I will be talking more about how to investigate the research that's out there and look for quality product as well. So 6 main objectives here. The first of which is to be able to utilize a single system design with 2 different types of measurement. I'll be covering 4 different types of measurement: standardized measures, behavioral observation measures, logs, and individualized rating scales. We'll go through all of these in a little bit more in depth throughout the course. Also, I'd like for you to be able to identify practice problems and establish measurement goals. One of the biggest challenges that students have is being able to come up with an operationally defined problem. So I'm hoping that early on in the semester, you'll be able to come up with a measurable problem that you'd like to address with your client and work towards the goals that you've set with them. Also, specifying an intervention utilized. This isn't an intervention course, but I'd like for you to be able to at least discuss your intervention that you would utilize. Understanding the connection between evaluation research and direct practice. And lastly, understanding multicultural issues and their implications for working with SSD. My goal is that that'll be incorporated throughout the semester and not just in one section of the course. The textbook that I'd like for you to purchase for this course, hopefully new, is the Evaluation of Practice book by Bloom, Fisher, and Orme. I would suggest getting it on Amazon new. You can certainly buy it used, but then you run the risk of not getting the Singwin disc with it. So again, I would suggest getting it new if you can. So the course is made up of 230 possible points, or your final grade is. So there's 5 short assignments, each worth 20 points. I should mention that each of these short assignments, you get a chance to redo them at least one time. So if you do lose any points, I'll give you a chance to resubmit. Also, there's the final paper, which is worth 100 points. And the short assignments kind of build up to the final paper. So you will hopefully stay on track throughout the semester as you're completing your own single system design. The Singwin activities are only really due before the final paper is due, because you'll need to know how to use Singwin to do your final paper. But again, if you don't have access to Singwin, I'll come up with something else for you. And lastly, participation point is answering the 2 discussion questions that are on the discussion forum. I have posted some expectations and requirements in the syllabus as well. You can read through these. But some of the main points are to stay engaged, checking on D2L weekly, letting me know in advance if there is anything that comes up where you're not able to submit something on time, making sure that you submit everything to D2L. Lots of students ask if they can get an incomplete if they haven't been able to submit things on time. That is not the case unless there is something outside of the norm, such as serious illness, injury. It's in an unusual circumstances, and there's more information on this in the syllabus as well. And lastly, if you feel that you've been graded unfairly, please contact me as soon as possible, and I'll try to work with you and try to figure something else out. So what everybody starts to worry about right away is the assignments. And I should mention earlier, I said that they're going to try to be as stress-free as possible. So I'd like to reiterate that these assignments, you do get a chance to redo them if you got partial credit on your first submission. Also, the short assignments have components of your paper, such as the second short assignment has the introduction to your final paper. So I'll be able to give you some feedback on that hopefully you'll be able to utilize towards your final product. Also, your third short assignment has your method sections of your paper. So again, you'll be able to implement the course materials towards your sections of your paper, ultimately towards your final product. So early on in the semester, as you're developing your own single system design, your final paper is going to be actually coming up with measures, coming up with a goals table for an SSD, and actually executing it and analyzing it. So there's 3 different options that you can do for this paper. One is to come up with a single system design for a classmate or a coworker, but I would encourage you to ask them to come up with a role play, maybe not like a real problem, just for purposes of confidentiality. But if you do this option or any of the options, be certain to fill out informed consent. And that's going to be something that we're going to cover around the method section. But the third option is probably my preference, which is just completing a single system design for something that you'd like to change for yourself. The reason this is my preference is because I think that it gives you a chance to be the client and the practitioner, and it gives you an idea of some of the intricacies of collecting data on an operationally defined problem that you've come up with yourself. So just keep in mind that if you're going to do option 3, you should also still fill out an informed consent and write up the paper as if you were talking about a client. So writing it in third person, not writing it in I, me, my. And so just a broad overview of the paper outline. Everything should be in APA format. Your introduction and method section should be written in the past tense, third person. And if you have more questions about APA format, you can check out some of my other videos posted online. Your introduction section is going to be introducing your client briefly. You really only need a paragraph or 2 here. I'd like a paragraph discussing some of the pros of using single system design, referencing the textbook. But really what I want you to focus on is coming up with a goals table, which has an operationally defined problem clearly laid out. I have some examples in the syllabus of things that I would strongly suggest doing. So you could do number of minutes the client exercises per day. Oftentimes students will say number of times the client works out per week. which is not a really good operationally defined problem because you shouldn't be doing dichotomous, did they work out, did they not work out, but rather looking at the intensity, duration, frequency. I would encourage you to look at the smallest increment of measurement possible. So number of minutes the client exercises per day gives you a daily measurement. If they exercise 17 minutes, if they exercise 28 minutes, really helps you look at the smallest increment so that there's not any rounding going on, and it helps you to be better at capturing any kind of variance. Another example could be ounces of soda consumed per day. So sometimes people say sodas consumed per day, but there's a difference between a 12-ounce soda and a 40-ounce soda. So I think the smallest increment possible is the best here. Also, just one last thing is that measuring weight loss is probably not a good idea. One is because it's not too healthy. Lots of times, if we're looking at just like a 2-week intervention here, generally is what people do for their intervention data. You won't see too much change in weight, at least not at a healthy rate. So I generally tell students to stay away from that. But you could do other things that could potentially lead to weight loss, such as daily calories consumed, number of fruits and vegetables consumed, something that could lead to that goal. Your methods section should briefly describe how the client was introduced to the single system design, and also specifying a measurement and recording plan in enough detail that it could be replicated by another practitioner if they were to pick up the SSD. Some of the main thing for the method section is to really discuss reliability and validity and what you've done to enhance those properties of the measurement. So that's going to be something that we really focus on a lot in this course. And you should come up with 2 different measurement tools that you would use to measure the single system design. In your results section, you should incorporate a COPES question, which is something that I'm also going to discuss in depth a little bit later in the semester. Also discussing the type of single system design you used. And a big chunk of this is being able to analyze your data and utilize the course materials to write it up in APA format in a scientific way. So not just putting your graphs into the paper, but using the course material to describe those graphs, discussing your analysis process, your t-test, your test for autocorrelation, your effect size, and that's all going to be stuff that we cover in depth later on in the course. And I know a lot of people get nervous about anything to do with stats or quantitative analysis, but I assure you this is something that you can handle at this stage of the game. And I'm more than happy to help you in any way I can. And lastly, your discussion section, more details on this in the syllabus, but I really want to see what went well, what you would do differently the next time, and kind of areas for improvement and next steps for your client. And lastly, in the syllabus, I'll post the class schedule. Each of the different modules is broken down to a different section that should roughly correlate with your paper. So section 1 is related to the introduction of single system design, and I've got reading assignments which are due within that module. As you can see in Module 2, short assignment 1 and 2 are posted, but they won't be due until Module 4. So here you can see in the measurement section, if we look at Module 4, it'll say short assignment 1 and 2 are due by 11:59 p.m. So they're due at 11:59 p.m. at the beginning of that module. So as you look at the dates posted in the syllabus, you'll see which date they're expected to be posted by, and they should be posted by 11:59 at that date. And this last slide here just has a breakdown of the last modules. So we have an evaluation design for section 4, and section 5 is the majority of the course, which is analyzing your results. Just an important thing to mention about here is that short assignment 4 and short assignment 5 are a little bit more brief than the first few assignments, but this is to give you more time to focus in on completing your single system design. And if you have any questions, please contact me as soon as possible. Again, I'm really fast with returning emails, and I'm more than happy to look through a draft of your paper. If you're feeling uncomfortable submitting your final paper, just please give me a week before the due date so that I can look through it and give you any kind of appropriate feedback. And again, thanks for signing up for my course, and I'll look forward to virtually meeting you all throughout the semester. And again, I'm pretty fast with responding to emails, so please just let me know if you have any questions.